This is KONR-LP Anchorage 106.1 FM Out North Radio, and you're listening to the Mountain View Post Radio Hour. Happy Saturday, everyone. My name's Kirsten. I'm your co-host.
And I'm Kate, and I'm your other co-host.
So we're happy to be back here in the KONR studio this morning. We had a week off last week. This is normally our Saturday morning show about all things Mountain View and events in the neighborhood. And
sometimes a little bit more.
Right. Things that people in the neighborhood might be interested in knowing about, etc.
Yeah.
Right. But we had a big station move last week, and we were in the Sunshine Mall, and now we're in a different space in the 4th Avenue Marketplace. And long story short, we ended up having last week off, and so it feels like it's been so long since we've been here on the radio. And Kate, I'm glad to be back.
Me too.
It feels like so much has happened in the last 2 weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even though it hasn't really been that long. And I hear you have some exciting news to talk about a little later in the show as well.
Yes.
So the last time I saw you, though, was actually last weekend. I ran into you at Ava's Cupcakery in Mountain View.
You didn't really run into me. You invited me.
Well, yeah, I invited you, and you came, and I ran into you there, which was really nice. I'm glad you came.
Yeah.
But it was for a special event we had for the latest issue of Mountain View Post magazine, right?
Yeah.
It is a spring issue. It is full of stories about, we have some neighborhood businesses. We have a profile with Tasha Hotch, who's the vice president of our Mountain View Community Council and also very active in various things around the neighborhood. If you live in the neighborhood, you've probably met her at some point or another.
Yeah.
Right? And you go to school with her son, right? So you know her that way. Anyway, that's the latest issue of Mountain View Post magazine. You can pick it up currently at the Mountain View Neighborhood Library, also at Red Apple, the grocery store. Let's see, we profiled a Flat Top Drum Company, which is co-owned by a Mountain View neighbor. They sell their drums. They have handmade, like wooden hand percussion instruments, and you can pick those up. They're pretty active on the fair and festival circuit, so I think the Three Barons Renaissance Fair is where you can find them most immediately. Have you ever been to that before?
No.
No? Oh, it's so much fun. You dress up like it's the Renaissance times. You wear a long gown. You go. Okay, maybe I'm more into playing dress up than you. It is pretty fun.
It's different. Renaissance is different than nerd stuff.
Yeah,
so.
you're more into Comic-Con, right? That
was fun.
Yeah, you do dress up as a very realistic Princess Leia.
Yep.
So
Speaking of the magazine, so in that issue there was, my sister wrote stuff about like the seniors and did interviews with them.
She did, from East High
Yeah.
School. She interviewed, I think, 4 different seniors who graduated this year. East High School, they graduated on Thursday.
Yeah, and they walked. So.
And you were there, so you are maybe able to give us a first-hand report. What was it like? What happened?
It was fun. You could tell which families like went out and bought blowhorns
So
and party poppers.
You gotta give that support. You know, you put in a lot of time to graduate high school, and so there's a lot of cheering that went on. And
well, yeah, but we're not supposed to bring those things. But they were like,
okay, just a little bit anyway.
Little bit.
Can I sneak it in? Just a little subtle air horn on the side.
there was like 2 seats behind me. There's this girl that she blew it really loud and hard, and then everybody just looked back behind her, and she stopped, and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" But she did it on purpose. But
yeah, I think there's a saying about that. It's ask forgiveness, not permission. So I'm not saying do that, but that is a saying that some people apply in certain circumstances, depending on what it is, right?
But who knows?
Like using an air horn at graduation. Sometimes you're just
we counted
that excited.
probably more than 15 party poppers.
Wow.
It was crazy.
And so your sister, Callie, graduated. We had also in this latest issue of Mountain View Post magazine, we had several other contributors who also graduated from East High School this year. We had some poetry by Charles Dixon, who graduated, and we had some art by Gia Marie and also Kiana Fanua, who graduated from East High School as well.
Yeah.
And so definitely pick up a copy at Red Apple or the Mountain View Neighborhood Library, and we'll try and distribute a few more copies around the neighborhood to some other places where they're easy to pick up. They're free, and I'm so proud of this latest issue and all the work that especially the seniors in the neighborhood did in it.
Yeah, because then they're moving on to something completely different next.
oh, what a big adventure. And so this is kind of the last summer hurrah before.
Or as we said it at the party, they're getting out of jail.
It can definitely feel like that. I kind of remember being in high school and wishing it was over.
Everybody wishes it's over until the last year, and they're like, oh no, what am I going to do?
Right? You gotta go get a job now, go to college, go kind of
Yeah.
start the next chapter of your life. So speaking of summer now, you're a student at Clark. Are they out of school yet? Or do you still have a little bit of time?
We have until Wednesday.
Okay.
But my brother's graduating 6th grade from Lake Hood on Wednesday, so I get to leave early.
Okay. This is kind of a big week and a half of
it's funny
graduations.
because my other sister's going to graduate high school next year, and then I'm going to be graduating 8th grade next year.
Ow. Lots of transitions.
Yep.
So what's the last week of school like at Clark? What are you most looking forward to?
Not looking forward to, it's getting it done, because we have a bunch of like finals and presentations and projects, and then we just got to get it all done.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have 8th grade recognition on Monday and Tuesday for like the informers, because we're going to be speaking. So I have to practice that.
Can you tell us what the informers will be speaking about?
We're just going to be giving transitional tips, because like when they are 5th graders, they have a transition, like they have like at literacy night, they have like a 5th grade orientation where we give them transitional tips to like make it easy for them to come here.
Into 6th grade.
And then in my part, it's saying like, but now at that presentation, you were given transitional tips to make your years here successful ones. And then it's like, but now 3 years later, you sit here with feelings of sadness that you're leaving middle school and anxious all over again that you are attending high school in the fall. And then it's like, we're giving you the transitional tips now.
Nice. So what are some of the transitional tips your fellow informers will be sharing?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you'll have to be there in person to hear what those transitional tips are.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's some good information to think about going into high school, because I know that can be a big...
High school is a very scary building. I would probably get lost on the first day.
No, I'm right there with you. And to be honest, I am in my late 20s now, and I still feel a little nervous going into high schools.
It's okay.
I don't know why. I mean, it's just
so confusing.
It really is. It all comes flooding back to you.
Oh no.
So last time we spoke, we were talking about the Mountain View community cleanup. And we're kind of right in the middle of it, and there were a bunch of neighborhood volunteers who were going out and cleaning up the neighborhood. And we also had the cleanup lot at the parking lot at New Hope Baptist Church, right?
Let me guess. They counted up how much garbage they got.
How did you know? We have the follow-up to that story now. So at that cleanup lot alone, let's see, I hear this is from Daniel George, who's the Mountain View Community Council treasurer and also helped organize the cleanup this year. He says they collected over 4 tons of metal, roughly 30 tons of garbage, over 200 tires, 8 fridges.
Oh my gosh, the fridges.
Right. So many refrigerators. And that doesn't include everything that was picked up by volunteers who went out into the neighborhood and drove around and picked things up in trucks.
That's just some of them?
Yeah, that's just 30 tons of just a little bit of it.
So much tires.
So much stuff. And so all told, I've heard that we collected about 60 tons of trash this year, which isn't as much as it was in past years, interestingly. So some people have said that's good because it means the neighborhood...
It's cleaner.
Right. Is cleaner, which is a good way to look at it, I think. But it was a week-long event, and there were donations from all kinds of different community organizations and businesses who helped make it possible, and also lots of volunteers. Let's see, I think there were volunteers from Mountain View Hope Covenant Church, True North Church, Brown Jug Alaska, and AK Slowburn donated money to help pay for some of those expenses, as did Cook Inlet Housing Authority. There were lots of volunteers from Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, our neighbors right over that military fence, and also donations from Reliable Appliance, American Tire and Auto Center, Sign Co., and some others.
It's interesting because the people from J-Bear, the informers, the drumline, and the choir went over there for Black History Month, and then they came to our school for a music assembly that they played a bunch of songs like Portugal the Man.
speaking of Portugal the Man, apparently that's a pretty popular group in our neighborhood, right?
Yep.
And we've had some requests to play Portugal the Man on the show. So coming up in a little bit, we are going to play some Portugal the Man while we take a little break. We also have an interview coming up later in the show. But first, I have one more news item that I wanted to tell people about, because especially if you live in Mountain View, this is going to be pretty relevant. It involves some power outages and also some construction noise. So you might be wondering about it, right?
I heard, this morning, did you hear the huge boom or something in the morning?
I did hear a huge boom
I was
in the
wondering what
morning.
it was, but I didn't know.
I was wondering what it was too. Nick's theory was that it was a car backfiring, and it sounded like
That
it
loud.
could have
It was.
been
It was really loud.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah, maybe someone
I mean,
like
if
something
me-
knocked over.
If my road could hear it to your road, that was pretty big because it was really loud.
It was, and it sounded. But I can never tell which direction things are coming from in my
I know,
house.
because it could just be hearing from one way, be like the other way. So who knows?
Things echo, and so. But I didn't see or hear anything after that, and
Yeah.
so
It was just that. Boom, done. Well, there was little tiny ones, but
maybe it had to do with some of this electrical work that's going on.
okay.
So this is interesting. This is what I learned at our latest Mountain View Community Council meeting, which was last Monday. They're always on the second Monday of every month if you're interested in going. And remember, you can participate, vote, and things like that if you are a Mountain View resident or
Over 16.
exactly 16 or over. So you don't need to be like 18 or in your 20s or you can still be a high school student and participate in the Mountain View Community Council meetings. So a few more years, Kate, and I expect to see you there voting and doing all kinds of things.
Be like, yes.
Because I know you have all kinds of ideas. So actually, at this most recent Mountain View Community Council meeting, they're at the Mountain View Boys and Girls Club at 6 p.m. on the second Monday of every month. At this latest one, we had a presentation from Jesse Moe, who's a project engineer with Municipal Light and Power. And he was telling us about a power pole replacement project that they're going to be doing in the neighborhood this summer. So apparently within the Municipal Light and Power service area, there are about 8,000 power poles. And guess what the average lifespan of a power pole is? Those tall wooden ones.
10 years?
Much longer than that, 40
Okay.
years. So that's pretty long, right? 40 years. Well, within the Municipal Light and Power service area, there are approximately 8,000 poles, and about 72% of them are over 40 years old. So, right, well over half of the poles in the service area are over their expected lifespan. And so they were looking at how to fix that and maybe replacing some of those poles and where they should start. And he said they looked for the area that had the highest concentration and also the oldest poles. And guess where that was?
Mountain View.
Exactly.
Because
Which-
you want to fix the problem before it becomes a huge problem.
Right, because this can have, anything from, it can cause like power outages to actual safety issues.
Or maybe
He
it could fall
says-
down.
Right. You could have big problems if these poles go bad. And so they looked at the Mountain View service area, specifically, let's see, what did he say? I think it was grid 1135, but it's the area from Meyer Street to North Burgaw Street, and then from Mountain View Drive up to McPhee Avenue. So kind of the west residential end
Yeah.
of Mountain View there, right. And so they looked at that area and they found that more than 3/4 of the poles in that area are 60 years old or older.
60? Mm-hmm. Whoa.
60 years old. And so the average lifespan is 40 years. More than 3/4 of the poles in that part of our neighborhood are more than 60 years old. And he says, on one hand, that's good because it shows you our poles are really hardy and have been able to withstand a lot. But on the other hand, he says it tells us that we also have an urgent problem that's coming and we have to address it now before things get really bad.
Yeah.
And so some of the problems with these poles, he said some of them are splitting, there's rotting, some of them have termite damage, some of them have been like hit by vehicles or
Some of them have had a lot of staples inside.
yeah,
Like,
so
get
many
stapled
staples,
into them.
and one day it's one staple too many, and the whole thing comes down. And I'm kidding. I don't think that will ever happen. But
There'll
legitimate
just be a lot
problems.
of metal on the pole.
Exactly. So these poles are really old, and they need to replace them. And so they're doing that this summer. And all told, they're planning on replacing, he said, 150 to 180 poles in the neighborhood.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot of poles. They divided it into like 14 different areas within that grid, and they're going to be working through them. They've already done a few of them, so this work is kind of already started. And he said they're going to try to get through all of it this summer, but they're busy. They have a lot of projects, and so there's a chance they might not get through all of it this year.
Yeah.
But they're going to try. And it will have some repercussions for people who live in the neighborhood because,
Probably going to be loud.
Right. It's probably going to be loud. Possibly we'll hear some booms.
Hopefully they continue it in 4 or 5 days when kids don't have school.
Really early in the morning to wake you up and get you out of bed early in the morning.
When I wake up first in the
early.
summer, I wake up early, and then at the end of summer, I wake up at 9 in the morning.
Well, I wake up really early too. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning.
I was
The
up
sunrise
at
is nice, though.
7:15 about, I think.
For Saturday, that's really impressive. So they're going to be the municipal light and power guys. They're going to be coming around, and ladies, crews.
Peoples.
Yep, the utility workers will be coming around the neighborhood and replacing the power poles. And they need to have access to the poles, right?
Yeah.
So we were told at the community council meeting they need to have clear streets, they need to have access to the alleys where they're going to be replacing the poles, and in some cases where there isn't an alley to access the pole, they might need to come up onto people's yards or access them through people's driveways and go through their yards that way.
That might be bad.
Right. So they say people need to prepare for this. They will give notice when this will affect people's property. They'll give you ample flyers at your door, things like that.
They're trying to fix it, but it might create a tiny problem instead of the pole falling on your house,
And creating
which will
a huge
create
problem.
a huger problem.
Exactly. And so we were told in some cases, if there's no alley access and they have to go through your yard, something like that, maybe there's a fence in the way or a greenhouse or a shed, that wouldn't be good. They would have to remove the part of the shed or the
Yeah.
fence or whatever so that they could get their equipment back there to replace the pole. But the project engineer said they will replace all of that. So
I saw during spring break, I think there were some people in the back of our alley. I don't really know.
I've seen in a utility truck.
Yeah.
That's
They got it in the alleyway. But
Maybe-
there's rose bushes. Not rose, raspberry bushes back there.
No, not the raspberry bushes. Well, possibly they'll have to remove some of those raspberry bushes, or maybe they were just checking to see what the access was like and see if they can get in there.
Practice.
Exactly, yeah, just seeing if they would need to move anything. We were told that this would result in possibly some power outages when they're on your particular block upgrading the poles and doing the replacement work there. We were told they would be limited, about 30 minutes tops, and everyone would get lots of notice when it does happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to, hopefully it doesn't take anyone by surprise. It sounds like they're going to be doing a lot of knocking on doors and things like that to let people know it's going to be happening.
Have to get out the old phone book, but now.
Right. Or maybe just go and start knocking on doors and
Who knows?
shouting. Right. But he said a good rule of thumb is if you see some guys in a utility truck out behind your house working on the pole back there, you might want to expect an outage because, chances are good it's going to happen. So I heard that you also had some news to talk about. It's still May, but summer is right around the corner.
Which is June.
And June is coming up. And as we know, for young entrepreneurs,
June 9th is Lemonade Day. Yeah, I was going to say lemon. I don't know.
this is what happens when you run too many businesses. Sometimes your brain short circuits on Lemonade Day. But it's cool. We got it back. So Lemonade Day, it's June 9th, right?
Yes. Me and my brother are doing this one. Tell us a little bit about like the background. What is Lemonade Day? Lemonade Day is a day it's all across. It's very nationwide, and so it's something to help young entrepreneurs have a business, but on the same day, so they can have a chance to experience it and budget and see what profit they get.
So there's a kind of a work up to this event where you can
Yeah.
plan and put your business together, and then you run the lemonade stand. You yourself are an experienced lemonade stand runner,
Yes.
right? You've done this lots of times in the past. You sell lemonade and much more at the Mountain View Farmers Market. And so this year, tell us about your plans for Lemonade Day.
So there's a geek swap meet that I probably have mentioned at Bosco's, There is one on each Saturday, and they don't advertise a lot, but like that's what we're also hoping to do. It's a geek swap meet where you can buy, swap, or go in the store and buy things. And so we got confirmation that we can have our stand there, and we're having a bunch of new things that we're trying out.
Oh, excellent.
We have a larger cup size that has like easy peasy lemon squeezy, it says on there.
Oh, so you have branded cups now?
Not branded, but we got them at Target, so.
Okay.
And then we got napkins that says it. We got some chalkboards, and we got like a crate and stuff. So we're going to make it more nerdy, and it's going to be different than the farmer's market because we're trying to reach out to a different audience.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we're not going to have rhubarb, but we're going to have strawberry.
Okay, that definitely sounds more like a Bosco's thing.
And we're going to have lemon blossom cupcakes and chocolate galaxy cupcakes. And
that's a good one.
We are going to have some more stuff. We just haven't decided yet, but we're getting ready for it.
You had me at chocolate galaxy cupcakes. I'm not sure what's involved in that, but
on June 9th, you can go to Bosco's. It's kind of near
it's
Bear's Tooth.
Right.
It's near Bear's Tooth, but it's in an old car wash place.
And all updated to be a fancy new comic store now.
It looks really nice.
You say it's the north end of Spinard Road?
I think so.
Kind of right there past the intersection of Spinard and Fireweed.
Near that, yeah.
Right?
It's like a Fireweed dentistry or something. I don't know.
Right around the corner, I think there's a chiropractor, maybe by the Fran's Bakery. Is it still Fran's?
I think so.
Yeah, right there. Okay. Yeah, everyone.
But if you're a nerd, or if you just want to see Lemonade Day, go to Bosco's. I'll probably get you guys some more. I'll send you some information for. We'll talk about it next time.
Right. We still have a few shows before Lemonade Day itself, and so we'll be able to get people really excited for Galaxy cupcakes, different kinds of lemonade.
Lemon cupcakes. We're gonna make it like something nerdy, like maybe Superman versus Batman, strawberry lemonade, and then we'll like tally it who chooses what.
Okay, I like that. I think at this point, though, I mean, I know you're a regular Bosco's customer. You are all about you talk about Bosco's frequently. Now I'm thinking maybe we need a Bosco's branch in our neighborhood or another neighborhood comic shop, something like that.
2 stores. There's one in the mall and
That's
one
true.
right there. But we're going
There's
to
Ian's
the
Game
building.
Paradise, right in Northway Mall.
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah. Well, just something to think about. So. We have, coming up later in the show, speaking of the farmers market, we have an interview with some staff members from the Anchorage Community Land Trust talking about a cool project that's taking place in the neighborhood right now. Before we get to that, though, I know we had some special music to play on request, Portugal the Man.
From the suggestion box when we went to had the Eva's Cupcakery party.
Yes, we had a release party for Mountain View Post, the spring issue, and we had a suggestion box just for stories, things we should put in the magazine, things we should talk about or listen to on the radio. And we had a suggestion from someone with great taste in music
that we have no idea who it is.
Okay, that's going a little far. It might have been Kate.
Who knows?
Portugal the Man, though. So did you see them, the video message that they did at the Mountain View Elementary School talent show?
No.
So Mountain View Elementary School had a talent show recently. It was very adorable. And Portugal the Man made a special appearance via pre-recorded video.
But, he's not going to come all the way over here. Yeah.
Right. It was a long way to come for an elementary school talent show, but the video was specifically for the event, and it was a really nice touch. And so you can go to, actually, the Anchorage Daily News had a very sweet story about that and some video of it as well. And so if you go to adn.com and just search Mountain View Elementary School, you can probably see a little bit of that. So without much further ado, we will take a quick break and talk with the Anchorage Community Land Trust. When we get back, stay with us. Welcome back to the Mountain View Post Radio Hour. My name's Kirsten.
My name's Kate.
Thanks for staying with us. So earlier in the show, Kate, we were talking about Lemonade Day because you have a lemonade stand.
Yes.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
Right? And if you are a frequent customer of the Mountain View Farmers Market, you might have seen Kate there in the past.
Or just seen me volunteer. Who knows?
Right. She's there all the time. And so Lemonade Day is coming up right around the corner. It's June 9th.
Yes.
this year, and you're going to be having a stand at Bosco's, and we'll be talking about that. Exciting.
We'll be in costume, so it's
Ooh,
okay.
You didn't mention that last time. I think in general,
Pretty sure it's gonna be Princess Leia again, because that's like so easy and like one of my favorite things to dress up as.
very fun. Well, I'm just glad that it's kind of the time of year now when we have farmers markets and there are things going on and lemonade stands. I know there are quite a few lemonade stands in the neighborhood. I know when I'm driving around, I see a sign for Isaiah's Slushy Stop a little bit farther down the street on Thompson Avenue, and there's some kids who have a lemonade stand regularly down by Davis Park. And so I just love this time of year because it's sunny and warm in general. Not right now, but hopefully
I feel
it
like
gets
it's
there.
gonna be harder because we're all trying to find somewhere else to like sell lemonade because since the street fair isn't happening.
Right, yeah. So the street fair is not happening this year, but I've heard rumors that there are going to be other events taking its place. We are still celebrating, actually, World Refugee Day is happening in the neighborhood, and we'll have more details on that coming up as well. And I've also heard that possibly we're going to do some more neighborhood-specific events, but we'll definitely have some guests on the show in the weeks ahead to kind of talk more about what's happening in the summer, because I know people are thinking about that. No more street fair this year. What are we going to do in its place?
Yeah.
So where we are right now in the new KONR studio, we used to be right out on 4th Avenue. Now we're kind of facing, we're on the other side of the building facing 3rd Avenue, and we have a great view of the Saturday market.
Yeah, so
And it's kind of making
if
us
you know
hungry.
where that is, you can see where we are.
I'm thinking about corn dogs, and you're talking about salmon quesadillas. And so,
Pretty sure they have some desserts over there too.
oh yeah, all kinds of things that I would eat my weight in kettle corn. I love it so much.
It's okay.
So, but we also have not a Saturday market of this size, but we have a farmers market in our neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you sell your lemonade, and it takes place right there on the Mountain View Farmers Market lot on Mountain View Drive across from Clark Middle School, kind of right there sandwiched in between the Shell gas station and the Mountain View Plaza.
Multiplex. Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's where the dentist is, and there's a grocery store and a
There's a
smoke
new,
shop
like,
and a tattoo place.
there's a
and
new-
urgent care.
Yeah.
Yes, a new urgent care. They're not quite open yet, but they're going to be opening
Not yet.
later this summer. And if you pick up an issue of Mountain View Post magazine, then you can read a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
But right, exactly. So that lot in between there, it's an empty lot. You might have driven by it before. That's where the farmers market takes place. And if you drove by it this week, you might have noticed some
All the
stuff
dirt.
going right. And Kate, you go to school right across the street. Did you see that happening?
No.
Wow. So it happened right under your nose. Kind of sneaky about it, but
Kind of on the other behind me.
It's been a busy season. I know there are graduations, things like that.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the end of school, but at the same time, there's been a lot going on at that lot across the street. And so that property is actually owned by the Anchorage Community Land Trust, which is a nonprofit in the neighborhood. They do a lot of work, are involved with various projects revolving kind of land use and also encouraging entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. And so they own the property, and they're involved currently with Catholic Social Services, refugee assistance, and immigration services.
So if you've been to the farmers market, you've seen that they have a booth at the farmers market.
Exactly right, and they run Fresh International Gardens, and they have a garden space on McPhee Street by the elementary school, and so they're already really active in the neighborhood. But now they're teaming up to do some work there on that lot where the Mountain View Farmers Market is. And so to find out more about what's happening, I caught up with Kat Taylor and Dave Dietrich from the Anchorage Community Land Trust. They're two staff members there who have both been actively involved with organizing the farmers market and other projects, and I know gardening projects in Mountain View. And so I had the chance to sit down with them yesterday to kind of talk about summer plans for this lot and what's going to be happening, and most importantly and immediately, what is that giant pile of soil doing in the middle of the lot. And here's what they had to say.
Well, you know that there is a mountain in Mountain View of dirt right now on our site, that is the beginnings of Grow North Farm. So that is in partnership with CSS and their Refugee and Immigration Services program. We are close partners with them, and 2 years ago we were really like, what can we do there that will activate the dead space even more than the market, and really invest in the entrepreneurs of this neighborhood, because that's going to be the focus of our organization of coming through Set Up Shop, which I can talk about later. And we know that most of their clients, the refugee clients, are settled here in Mountain View and just south in Russian Jack. So this is a big population that we work with. And what came out of that, and our work at Gardens at Burgaw, was knowing the needs and wants of that population to have more access to commercial agriculture land. It's hard to do that here. After they graduate from the FIG program, the Fresh International Garden program, they have learned more skills about how to grow in Alaska, but they don't have the access to the capital or the land to do so. So that's where we stepped in, and we have that resource. And so finally it's coming to fruition. We've got all this dirt out there. The fence is going in next week, and we're going to have a big grand opening on World Refugee Day, June 23rd.
June 23rd, that's good to know. And also, can I just say, I love all the gardening puns that you can sprinkle in when talking about this thing. The project is coming to fruition.
Yes, it's fruition, and we're growing entrepreneurs.
Right.
It's all too easy.
It's so good, though. So this project has been a while putting it together from the planning stages to kind of where we are now, it sounds like.
Absolutely, and Dave was really a huge part of that, because it really started after he joined ACLT as a Vista. So he got to do a lot of that part.
Yeah, so it was a lot of just communication on our end, and also communication with Jesse and Devin, the AmeriCorps Vista that was with the RAISE program, and kind of what they wanted to see with the space and what would benefit their clients like the most. So a lot of it, especially like the early couple months, and I can just think of last summer, like literally us just kind of pacing around like the empty lot, being like, okay, well, a fence makes sense there, and we'll be sure that it encloses the shed so that we can keep everything that we need in there, but then that'll move the farmers market a little bit this way and that way. So a lot of it was just walking around and sort of just like dreaming what the space could look like. And then of course when the plans were put in and things were put on paper, what really kind of put it on hold for a little bit is just like the fact that this stuff kind of costs money and takes some time, and winter is an inevitable thing that will show up. So that's what really kind of put it on hold, and we were really wanting to get it going at the end of last summer. We're really excited for it, but the fact that it's happening now is great to see, because like, okay, now finally after being dormant all winter, like it comes to life again. So
I know I attended the fundraiser resolution back in February, and
farm raiser.
Farm raiser, right?
Puns don't stop.
Got to remember the puns. I attended the farm raiser resolution in February, and there was a great turnout and super crowded. The whole parking lot was packed. But can you tell me a little bit about support for this project and where, like you mentioned, all these things cost money? There's a lot of dirt over there right now, which I imagine was not cheap. Where did the support for this project come from, and kind of what was the process like of pulling that together?
Yeah, absolutely. We, as you know, that is a site that we own. We have for more than a decade, and have tried to attract commercial development to it, but had not much success with that. So we already had that capital cost ready to go. We were ready to invest some remaining grant funds into a property that we have. So that's what paid for a good chunk of the project. But of course, we're good at starting great projects, but we need operational help to keep them going, and the right partner for that was really CSS, and they stepped up, helped us fundraise the remaining amount to take on the soil costs. So we will provide water, land access, landlord support, and they will provide awesome entrepreneurs to help farm the space and the soil costs, and then into the refugee program in the future, they'll keep using that space just to help train their refugee farmers. So RAISE program will support that.
Excellent. I understand that it's kind of going to be divided into multiple lots, some for current program members, and then a few for graduates.
I believe that's a model that will take place maybe in year 2. I think for year 1 that RAISE will really just have their clients there, which is still an awesome outcome. It's going to take a while to get going. They've got a big space to work with, which we're excited. It more than tripled their gardening space that they currently have. And I think that we would love to see them reach out to the alumni of their program. The site layout that you just mentioned, we envisioned opening that up to some members of the community that have gone through the program, have those skills, but again, don't have the access to the capital or the land, and have wanted to take the next step in commercial agriculture for a long time. So maybe the Bhutanese, Congolese community, those people that Rays know really well, that are ready to take that next step.
Like you mentioned, this has been a property that the Land Trust has owned for a while, and I know if you drove through Mountain View probably 15 years ago, you would have seen something completely different at that site. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of the site, ACLT's involvement with it, and kind of what it took to get it to where it is now?
So that site has been just crazy, a thorn in the side, you could say. It's John's RV lot is what we used to call it. That's what used to be there. I should send you a picture, but you can just imagine this squat hotel in the back corner where the farm is. It had about 20 trailers on it, and when ACLT acquired it, we were able to do a lot of remediation work on the site.
It's a building too, right? Like an actual office building. Like
office
I've only seen pictures of it, and the pictures I see, I'm like, wow, this does not even, like, how did this even fit all in that space?
You can kind of see some remnants of that. There's just some pipes around. There's things we probably don't even want to know about underneath the ground, but that's what makes development there difficult, and has for more than a decade. It's a really big 2-acre site, and since John's RV was demolished and redeveloped and just into a vacant, developable piece of land, a parcel, nothing has really happened there since the market that we started 2 years ago, which you know all about and has been a very successful, super exciting event to have in this neighborhood, but only still activates like an eighth of the site at a time. And so we're really at this point where it's going to activate a whole acre's worth almost of that site.
What's the Land Trust's long-term plan for the property?
Absolutely. We are excited by what the farm brings to the table. We have really not challenged ourselves enough to think about what can happen there beyond commercial development. So we're excited to work with Cold Climate Housing Research Center, CCHRC, to do a charrette in the fall. We're gonna, really explore what else can happen there that's kind of thematic with the farm and with the market. Maybe something cool with food storage or hoop houses. What else can we do to make that a food security themed site? And what does the community see happening there too? We really value the input. We value engagement. So I think we really want to ask and come up with a visioning process with the adjacent community there as well.
And I'd say, too, another thing that I'm sure ACLT is excited about seeing is just activating that space for entrepreneurs in the agriculture and food industry. So just an example with that is the farm. I mean, how we want to see that as a space where they're not only growing and, a space where they can have fun and do what they love doing, but they can also take that and put it out to the farmers markets around Anchorage and put it out like in a farm stand in front of the farm. So that's another thing I think we're all really excited to see is just the entrepreneurship that will be kind of spurred on in that site.
You mentioned, just rewinding a little bit, you mentioned that some of the challenges associated with developing that site into a commercial property, and I know from past reporting, we have a lot of contaminated sites around the neighborhood. There's maybe an oil tank or something from something 20 years ago, and you try to do something with it, and you find out it's going to be really expensive or prohibitive in some other way to get anything done. How did that play into developing the farm, and what did you need to take into consideration when thinking of but putting all the farm, all the dirt there and growing things there, and how does that work?
So that was definitely us relying on the expertise of like Jesse over at Ray's and him even reaching out to his kind of farm contacts, to be like, this space may not be the best. I mean, it's an old RV lot, so the soil isn't going to be, ideal. And that's why it took so long to kind of fund and get so much for soil. Like, sure, you can throw some soil on there, but you're going to need a lot of it so that in kind of the long term, like you can amend it and you can do it right. So it's a healthy soil that they can kind of work with. So it's been a struggle, but I mean, that's why you see so much dirt out there. Like you're not just putting a flat thing on. It's like almost a foot in some areas because that's just what it needs to be. And it'll take time and they'll be working hard over the summer too to amend it and get it ready to be a healthy kind of space.
That definitely explains all of the dirt that you see there now, having to.
It has to be minimum 6 inches. On the part where there's some asphalt, we have to have 8 inches. And we really consulted Jesse and then Julie Riley, longtime architect over there at that program and mentor for anybody who does anything gardening related here in the city. She came and looked at it and was like, this drainage is bad. This is just bad. So we had to compensate for that and, buy the right stuff.
Do you, if this program is a success and things really take off here on this site, do you see it as a model for other similar projects around the neighborhood? I know your ACLT is currently involved with some gardening over in Spinard, and you've been doing some other things. Do you hope to expand this model?
Urban farm projects have really taken off in terms of interest in the city. I've just heard so many people interested in them. You know about probably the one down on 3rd Avenue with the old hospital site, as well as I've just had conversations with people who have wanted to do some more in Midtown. When they see vacant plots of land, the often achievable low infrastructure, relatively, solution to activate that site would be to do some farming on it, especially after we've seen all the statistics about our food security in this city and the port supply of food that we would have. The interest has been ramped up in terms of what can we do to make ourselves more secure here, grow our own food more locally, and especially that entrepreneurship aspect. We have done a project. We're going to be working continually with the Spinard Community Garden Group. It's been a great relationship builder. We've, found a space for them behind the Church of Love to do a pilot garden project and see how that works for them. They don't have a single community garden in the neighborhood, and they have a lot of support, just grassroots support for doing gardening with their neighbors. So in that sense, it's definitely a community building, relationship building project, and less food security. But I think that you can be very well assured that, especially in this neighborhood, the demand has been continually high for gardens, and we really look forward to working with Parks and Rec, even in Davis Park, for a large community garden upcoming, which is in the works. It's in the plan.
And that isn't a part of the Davis Park master plan.
That is a part of the
correct?
Davis Park master plan, and ACLT was able to divert some funding towards that project, at least to get through planning phase, and we do want to move forward with it, and so does Parks. So I think that this year we'll be looking at the infrastructure that needs to go in first, like the right parking and the right water, but then we'll be looping back with them for seeing what we can do for a garden there as well.
Excellent. And I know a little bit earlier you mentioned that there is going to be kind of a kickoff event at the new Grow North farm that's taking place in June.
Yeah, June 23rd is World Refugee Day. That's going to be held on the same site as the farmers market, and you can look forward to us making a great announcement, having a big celebration with them about the farm then.
Excellent. And do you have, because I know lots of people have been curious and wondering and asking about this, but the farmers market for this year, do we have a start date so far, or is it state?
We do. It's June 28th. June 28th through September 27th is going to be our season, weekly Thursdays, 3 to 7 p.m.
So that was Kat and Dave from the Anchorage Community Land Trust talking about future plans for Grow North Farm, which is going to be right there on the Mountain View Farmers Market lot on Mountain View Drive. And Kate, we've seen there's some big piles of dirt right there now, and that over the course of this summer and the next year is going to transform into an urban farming space.
So, yeah.
Yay. So with that said, our farmers market, kind of on that note, is, like Kat mentioned, going to be opening on June 28th this year. So mark your calendars. Get excited for that. We already have the big farmers market / Saturday market going on here downtown, right across the street from the studio. So might go find something to eat here after the show. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the end of the show, we're right up at the end of the hour and at the end of our show here today, Kate. Are we missing any neighborhood news?
No.
I think we covered it all for this week.
Yeah.
Well, read more, of course, from the latest issue of Mountain View Post magazine on our website, which is mountainviewpost.com, mtviewpost.com, or pick up a print issue of the magazine, which has some pretty cool extras in it. And you can find that at Red Apple or the Mountain View Neighborhood Library. We will see you next week.
Bye.